The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, one of the greatest tales in film history. Its legacy characterized as being a cautionary tale about the horrors of tyranny. Fascinatingly, this story was told by a nation that was soon to birth the most horrific tyranny of the 20th century, the nation of Germany. The film released in 1919, after what was at the time Germany's most catastrophic decade in its history. The Great War, revolutions of 1918, the collapse of the German Empire, the humiliating Treaty of Versailles, the Spanish flu, an assortment of rebellions from the Red Army in the Ruhr, the Spartacists in Bavaria, and the Freikorps of Prussia. The artistry of this new nation was tasked with helping understand the identity of the new Germany and contextualize the previous decade. What happened? Who are we now? And what is to come of us? All questions the German people would try to answer in the interwar period through their films. Films of the early Weimar era took on a very leftist nature, championing the revolutionary thoughts of the time. One of early Weimar cinema's greatest contributors was Hans Janowitz, a veteran of the First World War. Janowitz, since the war, had become a devout pacifist who wished to expose to the public the unjust tyrannies that had ruled and misled them in the Great War. His method of conveying these views to the German people was through film, through Caligari. The story of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is one of a maniac using his charisma and hypnotic charm to manipulate the unknowing masses into their own slaughter. In the film, the aforementioned Caligari hypnotizes and dehumanizes to make the poor young Caesar obey, kill, and maim members of Caligari's own audience at his command. Simple Germanic society is terrorized, and innocents are killed at the hands of the deluded Caesar, puppet of Caligari. In Caesar and Caligari's relationship, we see the tyrant and its victims. Caligari is representative of the German military state, and the delusional Caesar is the common man, trapped under the state's propagandistic sway. The tyranny of Caligari exerts itself in a grasp for power by sending Caesar to maim, butcher, and ultimately be butchered, just as the German Empire would send young men to the front lines. Janowitz's dissident anti-hierarchical views can be seen through his vilification of authority in this film. He evidently feels disgusted and betrayed by the authoritative state, which claimed to look after the interests of its people while convincing the men to fight and die for the interests of an autocrat. Because of this, Janowitz cannot reconcile with any authority's supposed good intentions. In a sense, Janowitz, I believe, identifies with Caesar. Janowitz was an otherwise pacifistic man who is driven to carry a gun and invade foreign lands in order to kill and maim. Like many men in Janowitz's situation, Caesar perpetually slaughters until he himself is slaughtered. Soon after, the gig is up. A chase ensues, led by our protagonist Francis and the townspeople in pursuit of Caligari. The people have finally caught on to the mad slaughter of the tyrant, and it is time for him to be deposed. This chase leads Francis to an insane asylum, where the director is revealed to be a disguised Caligari. This is the most openly revolutionary sentiment of the entire film. As the people finally catch on to who the real perpetrator of all this death and suffering is, they mobilize against this force, as happened in the German revolutions. However, the exposing of the tyrant has proven not to be the end of their terror, as the tyrant now stands before them, masquerading as a benevolent force of sanity. Janowitz in this scene is accusing the German revolutions of 1918 to be unfinished. The tyrant is still ruling Germany, he has merely changed form. By having Caligari be apprehended and locked up within his own institution, the film calls for the ruling powers of Germany to be deposed, if Germany is to ever be free of this insane tyranny. This theme, however, is turned on its head in the film's twist finale, where it is revealed that in actuality, our protagonist has been insane this entire time, and seems to have fabricated this story of Caligari. Why does the film do this? Across much of the marketing for the film, one title appeared: You Must Become Caligari. To understand the tyrant and his actions, we must see the world through his point of view, which we do with this ending. Caligari is trying to rehabilitate delusional revolutionaries like our protagonist, attempting to bring German society back to normality as he sadly rules over an insane asylum. Or it would appear as much, if not for the ending, whereupon the asylum director declaring he can cure our protagonist of his madness, we hold on the director's face with a deep stare for a suspiciously long time before the film finally ends. What did Janowitz mean by this stare? I believe it warrants that this is not necessarily the end of the Mad Terror. Caligari is gone for now, but is he perhaps lurking beneath German society, waiting to return? I'll leave that one for the historians.